Hey, what is up guys, it's your boy Tway here. This will be a video on something that has been brought to my attention by a viewer and asked me, what do you think about this? And it is regarding Guardian Raid and Abyss dungeon difficulty being lowered because the too long didn't read said the community complained, and the response is tier 1 and tier 2 content will be made easier, including all of the underneath. So to give you an answer, I think we have to go over the pros and cons to really see what this will be. And obviously I don't have the answer on how they're gonna nerf these, and I could speculate on several different options, so let's do that too. So if I look at one of these Guardian Raids, all of these do a pretty ridiculous amount of damage, are super aggressive, have one-shot mechanics and tactics that need to be taken into account because otherwise your team dies. And to really be on your A game, there's several ways on how you can do it. You can, for one, try until you don't die anymore. And that might be very good if you're running with a specific type of group. However, if there is one part of the community that is very invested and do a lot of research, and the other ones are just trying it out for fun, I think the gap between those two will cause a lot of anger between both of the players. Yes, also the people that just want to try things out. Because you don't necessarily tell me what to do! Technically the game does that for you because you die. Either way, there are ways to get yourself educated, and for one, Maxroll is one of these websites that literally have everything laid out for you. And you can click one of these random essays and literally look at every single piece of move that will be thrown at your face that could cause you some harm or at least deplete your HP bar to absolute zero. So I can imagine that if you are a player that wants to find out the hard way, then yes, this would be great and the game would be a little bit more lenient toward your approach. For the other group of people, it's a pro as well, because let's face it, if you are running in a group that dies several times and then disbands and you lose out about 30 minutes and a lot of resources because you use potions, destruction bombs and everything else, then I can imagine that at the end of the day it will leave with some angry people as well. And even for the group of the second people who are already very knowledgeable about the game and want to run some of these alts, I can only imagine how frustrating it could be that you're already completed this content and let's say you try and do it again to get that one alt up to tier 2, maybe even tier 3, and find yourself wasting a lot of time on a boss that you have killed several times before. I can imagine. So that would be a huge pro. But then the question arises to me, how are they going to nerf this content? Because there are several things that they could do. One is simply nerf the HP bar. This way the fight takes less long. This way the one-shot mechanics are still into place and it will not leave away from the challenge that people are faced with. The second one would be nerf some outgoing damage. And that could be a very typical way to get the first group of people that want to try the hard way, no information whatsoever, to have a little bit of leniency toward their style of play. Number 3 would be either reduce the amount of stagger that is needed for a stagger bar. And to give you an example is the Virtus Grab, which technically one-shot all of my characters so far, especially when I tried to solo this. If you have yourself a team, you just knock him on his face a little bit with some stagger damage and he will knock this stuff off. And there's obviously one more thing that could make me even more mad, and that is the fact that these bosses tend to jump from one platform to another on certain type of phases, which they could nerf quite specifically, which make the fight less long as well. However, this is only something that I can speculate on, and if you guys have any suggestions, put it down into the comments, let me know. I'd like to get this discussion going on. But for some cons, and I do have to elaborate on this, are we going to get with the whole environment where everybody wins and take away from people's achievement? Because last week I did the Gate of Paradise, had an absolute blast completing this. And was it hard? Yes. Did we wipe? Yes. And we had so much fun in the process. There were people just typing in the chat, being lenient toward one another, trying to give each other pointers on what they did wrong, and some pointed out that this feels like World of Warcraft raiding way back in the day. And once we cleared it, everybody was ecstatic, and I don't think we would have to necessarily take away from that. And if they could nerf it at a certain point to take the tediousness out of it and keep the sense of satisfaction, then they would do an awesome job. However, I think it will be hard, especially because of the fact that we have so many islands that can grant you so many materials to boost your account up so ridiculously fast, which in turn means that people will hit tier 3 within a month. New players will do that as well, which also means that once you go to tier 3, you thought that this one was hard? Try the armor version. This one will murder you. And this is not forgiving whatsoever. And at that point, are we going to then, once again as a community, complain like, oh my god, the game is too hard, please nerf? And are we then going to adapt a strategy where everything is going to be nerfed because everything is too hard? I'd rather want to have myself the absolute hardest mode that the Koreans also get. And there is a long-term wish of mine where we could have the same patches as the Koreans do, because let's face it, I don't necessarily want to read these guides either. I want to try the hard way. I want to get slapped, and not necessarily because I'm a masochist, but I like the sense of exploration and the sense of achievement that you get within a group, theory crafting and all that stuff together to find yourself ways to clear these bosses, because this is one of the biggest downside, to me at least, when it comes to doing a Eastern MMO, is because every guide has been written already. There are people with a ridiculous amount of knowledge that have played it onto other servers that can give you all sorts of information, which will obviously increase your overall progression and maybe even your clearing speed as well. But the overall satisfactory feel of struggle is something that I think we should not take away. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Please put it down into the comments what you guys think about this, and let me know. I'm curious. Let's keep this discussion going on, and I'll see you guys into the next one. Peace!